There are many ways to tell a story, through dialogue in a movie or words in the pages of books, but sometimes you don't have to use words to tell a great story. In fact, you don't even need 90 minutes or 200 pages to tell a great story. You can do it in just 5 minutes with one chapter with no words at all, using only eye-catching visuals and emotional music. Look no further than the secret ending of Kingdom Hearts 2, named Birth by Sleep, which served as a teaser for the upcoming game of the same name. It was originally featured on the final mix expansion of Kingdom Hearts 2 released exclusively in Japan in 2007, a full 3 years before Birth by Sleep was released in 2010. Using nothing more than one scene set against one of the greatest pieces of music in video game history, this secret ending was able to tell a spectacular story, all without us not knowing a single character that was involved. And yet, we were able to understand these characters and connect with them. Such was the power of this story being told. In this video, I'm going to analyse the details of the Kingdom Hearts 2 secret ending, how it was able to tell such an incredible story despite having no dialogue, an incredibly short runtime, and characters that at the time, we had no idea who they were exactly. If you've seen any of my other videos, you'll know I usually start with an overview to set the scene before going into the main analysis, but for this one, I think I'll just go straight into the analysis and close by giving my thoughts. So if all that sounds good, let's go. This scene offers great mystery. Who exactly are these people and what are they fighting for? The natures of the characters are made apparent from the beginning from just their appearances alone. It's obvious that the ominous man, who is later revealed to be Master Xehanort, is the villain of this brief scene based on his mannerisms and looks. From his stoic walk, his hands behind his back, his crooked posture, the smirk on his face, and perhaps, most tellingly, his steely yellow eyes. Xehanort possesses power only capable to those with evil intentions. He pulls up rock cliffs from the ground, summons dark orbs of energy, and forms the fallen Keyblades scattered about into a raging twister. This twister is controlled by Xehanort's accomplice in this scene, a masked boy wearing a dark suit, who is given the name Vanitas. Vanitas' appearance embodies darkness and evil, and even his introduction to the scene adds to this aura, as he appears from inside Xehanort, first as the doppelganger of his master, before morphing into his normal self. Xehanort and Vanitas have most of the control over the fight, Xehanort sitting high atop one of the rock cliffs he formed to represent his status of being the one pulling the strings. Despite his strong power being presented to us, Xehanort doesn't do much fighting, only trading blows a few times. This is a shtick that's most common with the top villains of stories. Vanitas is instead the one on the battlefield, using the twister of Keyblades to his advantage by riding on top of it, casting magic attacks like lightning and icicles, and also getting physical within the battle. He also shows his loyalty to Xehanort, constantly thwarting the attacks of the heroes to protect his master. Those heroes are also made obvious to us. Even though we don't know their backstories or see their faces, we can tell that their bond is strong. The tallest knight, who we later know as Terra, is the one who has the strongest desire in the battle, as well as the strongest fighting style. He instantly engages the fight by charging towards Xehanort, in the process holding back the smallest knight, revealed later as Ventus in the opening stages, displaying his deep love for his friend by holding him back to avoid harm coming to him. While Terra is going after Xehanort, Ventus is battling Vanitas alongside the third knight, her name being Aqua. While the fights start off separate, they quickly intertwine, as each side keeps on aiding the other. Vanitas stops Terra from attacking Xehanort, constantly and consistently using the twister to knock Terra from atop the cliff to stop him from both attacking and aiding. Vanitas uses the twister to attack Aqua as well, throwing her to the ground, this happening while Terra plunges to the ground himself and uses his Keyblade to dig into the rocky cliffs to keep himself alive. But Aqua casts a spell that summons an orb around Terra, protecting him from the fall, and the twister pushes him back up to the top of the cliff where Xehanort is. Ventus also tries to aid Terra. Seeing him alone at the top, he dashes up there to help and save his friend, only to be caught off guard and plucked out of the air by his head. Xehanort displays his evil nature in this moment as he stares down Terra while relentlessly and cruelly crushing Ventus' head. The three heroes show signs of damage throughout the fight, as the armour of their suits is chipped, cracked and broken off. Us as the viewer are taken in by this story made up of visuals, as we want the heroes to succeed in defeating the villains, and mourn the thwarts of their attempts as the connection towards them begins to form. Perhaps no moment seals this connection more than when Ventus is being held hostage by Xehanort. Terra attempts to save Ventus, but is quickly knocked off the cliff by Vanitas' twister, and as such, Ventus is left alone and defenceless. Xehanort's cruel nature isn't just displayed by crushing Ventus' head, but also his intentional position atop the cliff when performing this heinous act, intentionally placing himself by the edge where Aqua can see him, herself being far below on the ground and having no chance to save her friend. Xehanort continues to torture Ventus physically and Aqua mentally, as he burns Ventus, freezes him, and tosses him off the cliff, Ventus hitting the rocks on the way down. His life is saved as Aqua catches him, but she still mourns the physical pain and damage that's been done to him. All the while in this moment, Ventus' face is revealed, first only his eye, which is seen when his visor breaks away after being crushed, and finally his whole face when his helmet breaks away after colliding with the rocks. Ventus looks exactly like Roxas, throwing mystery, surprise, shock and confusion our way. The fight ends with the heroes battered and beaten, and perhaps the most shocking part of the ending is when Terra rips off his helmet and his eyes turn that same yellow colour as Xehanort's. It's also worth noting that at the start and at the end of this scene, some rather ominous sentences appear on screen, but we still don't know what any of this means. Throughout all of this, there is a dramatic medley playing in the background, one that sets the tone for each scene, a slow build-up of an ominous choir chiming in the background as the fight begins to start, a transition into fast-paced strings as the battle starts its opening stages, even more strings and a louder pitch when the battle gets into its more gripping stages, a big drop back into the ominous choir when Ventus is brutally tortured and the heroes are unable to save him, and finally a rise back into a louder section with an intense build as we see that the villains have triumphed. The music dramatically tells the story alongside the visuals, both of these styles powerfully delivering the tale that's being told, with words not being a factor at all. This is easily one of my favourite parts of the entire Kingdom Hearts franchise. The whole scene is such an intense trip that makes you feel all kinds of emotions. With there being no dialogue spoken and no knowledge of ours of who these characters are, you wouldn't expect so much emotion to come out of this. The setup is done so perfectly, with the villains of this brief scene being highlighted so clearly in just their appearances alone. This is something that we can recognise as audience members watching the story unfold. The mannerisms of the three knights also speak volumes. We know exactly what their feelings are despite them all having their faces hidden. I really like how all their faces are revealed in reverse order, with Aqua being first, Ventus second, and Terra last. And while I mentioned Terra, a slight, that I'll call bonus, that adds to this scene is that it almost serves as a follow-up to the secret boss fight in Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, in which you fight what appears to be Terra, but is really just his armour that's called the Lingering Will. In that boss fight, Lingering Will is shown to possess intense and incredible power, and he's hard to defeat, so seeing him here getting pummeled by Master Xehanort in turn reflects his power, and that he's a lot stronger. That bit might sound complicated, but then again the whole Kingdom Hearts series is well known for being just that. The dark atmosphere really adds to the intensity of the scene, along with its mysterious aura because we have no clue what exactly is going on here. The animation of the whole scene looks absolutely fantastic as well. It's aged like fine wine honestly and still holds up even now considering it was made in 2007. The mystery continues with Ventus' face being revealed to show that he looks exactly like Roxas. This moment definitely shocked a lot of people and raised even more questions, because you had to wonder why Roxas was in this despite having an ending to his arc in Kingdom Hearts 2, which of course would later expand in a different direction. There's so much that goes on in the fight that really reflects the storytelling, Terra rushing towards Xehanort to attack him, only for Vanitas to take him down with the twister, and of course when Ventus is being held by his head by Xehanort. That moment is probably one of my favourites in this scene. The heroes and villains are highlighted clearly, the villains have been established as very evil and we just want to see the heroes defeat them, even though we don't have that strong deep connection with them just yet. That's why the visual aspect is strong with telling the story, but of course the visuals aren't the only incredible aspect of this scene. The music also plays a part in representing the feelings of the characters and the overall atmosphere. Fate of the Unknown has to be one of the best pieces of music ever written for a video game. The soft choir, the fast-paced strings, every medley just conveys each part of the scene perfectly. This scene is a fantastic example of making us feel emotions and connections without needing to hear characters talk or even know who they are, and that's why this style can have such a massive impact and can carry so much weight and strength. I love storytelling and its many multiple variations of the genre, and in terms of a musical and visual story, I'd say that the secret ending of Kingdom Hearts 2 has to be my favourite of that particular subgenre. Establishing the characters through a clear setup and using all the necessary tools to convey the tale, this is no doubt one of the greatest pieces of media that I think I've ever seen. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. I'm Jay the Taz, and I'll see you next time.